Rigs, 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 rigs. Let's have a look at some more rigs. Shooting parts 5 and 6 coincided with my local syndicate banning semi-fixed rigs. Now I thought I'd start getting twitchy bites on there, but on the contrary I got just as many runs, if not more. And I think that's because the fish were used to semi-fixed rigs. You gave them a running rig and they just didn't know how to deal with it. The one major downside with running rigs is they do tend to tangle. So what we've been doing over the last year is developing a run rig rubber which stops that happening. And the reason it stops it happening is the same reason that makes a lead clip so good for anti-tangle. Can you see there the lead and the hook link are laying almost parallel to each other. Rather than it kicking out at an angle, they're lying side by side, and I think that's why a lead clip is so good for anti-tangle. Now this one I've got set up on a Safezone leader, and what I've basically done is I've slid the lead on the line first, then the run rig rubber, which is that little fella there, that's gone on the line, and then I've tied the leader on with my normal Palomar knot, which is what I favour, tying onto a leader with mono, and then I've just pulled the ring swivel into the end of that run rig rubber. So that's in there really, really tight. That's not meant to pull out because obviously that's meant to slide down the leader. Now in this instance, I've actually cut the ring of the ring swivel off and replaced it with a quick link because, as you know, I like changing my hook links really, really quickly, and that suits my style of fishing. Now if you want to keep the ring swivel on, all you need to do is either loop to loop the hook link onto it or just tie a half blood knot or a Palomar knot, whatever you like to tie onto that ring swivel, because you want a pivot point there. You want the hook link to fold back in flight and lay against the leader, and that's what will stop tangles. So if you're getting tangles on any rig whatsoever, if you just add a hinge at that point, it will reduce the amount of tangles that you get. Doesn't matter what material you use, doesn't matter what lead system you use, it will reduce the amount of tangles. Now that's it set up for a Safezone leader. You can do exactly the same thing with a Leadcore leader, and I've got one here set up with tubing. And the run rig rubber really suits tubing as well because the tubing just pushes into the end there. I've just cut that tubing to a point, so I've slid the lead on the line first, threaded the tubing, cut it to a point, and then just pushed it into the end there. And on the cast, there's no pressure on that point there. All the pressure is on that shoulder. And that's why this rig sits so well, is because of that specially angled shoulder. And you need a large eye swivel, which comes as standard on all the Korda leads, for it to sit that well. And if for some crazy reason you're not going to use a Korda lead, we do a run rig kit, which means you can cut the swivel off the lead and replace it with a much larger eye swivel, and that'll sit beautifully like that as well. And you can see on the front there, I haven't got a ring swivel on there this time. I've just got a normal size 8 swivel, and that's an anti-tangle sleeve, which Frank Warwick has sort of forced us to bring out. And what that does is it pushes the hook link away from the lead. So if you're experiencing tangles of any kind, just put on an anti-tangle sleeve or create that hinge like I've already showed you, and that should stop it. Now, this is obviously for running rigs with swivel leads. You can fish inlines running as well, so let's have a look at the shocker rig. And this is it, the shocker rig. Incorporating an inline lead, I've taken the insert out of that square pair inline and threaded it onto a Safezone leader, and the ring of the Safezone leader stops it sliding off the end. And then I've put a little tiny 4mm rubber bead, again from the Safezone range, on the back, and that's going to act as a backstop. So when the fish picks up the rig, the lead slides away and hits that backstop and bam, just startles them. And because this rig works so differently to anything else, it is really, really effective on those really hard waters. No good when it's weedy because the fish go off at such a rate, they're in the weed before you even pick the rod up. But if you're fishing a pressured water where it's a hard bottom, because obviously inlines are only going to work on a hard bottom, on a soft bottom, they'll drag the whole lot in. So it's got to be a hard bottom, a pressured water, no weed and snags around, and you can use that to very, very good effect. And you see there I've got it with a very short hybrid hook link. That's the way I favour it. That's what works so well in parts 5 and 6 of the underwater series. My mate Andy turned over maize on last year. I think he had 9 fish, 350s up to 58 pound, all on that rig. So if you're fishing a pressured water, running inlines on the shocker is the way to go.